live in interesting times. For the headlines. Another major earthquake, a 6.2 magnitude 1, hit the tourist island of Lombok, Indonesia, days after a massive magnitude 6.9 earthquake on Sunday evening killed more than 300 people. The Russian ruble crashes on new U.S. sanctions. A celebration for the 50 years in the west of the Iglesia Ni Cristo continues in Sacramento, California. We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda. A strong aftershock struck Indonesia's Lombok Thursday, causing panic among evacuees already traumatized by a devastating earthquake that killed more than 160 on the holiday island 4 days earlier. The 5.9 magnitude quake struck at a shallow depth in the northwest of the island, the U.S. Geological Survey said, even as relief agencies raced to find survivors among the wreckage from Sunday's quake. It was the strongest of some 355 aftershocks that have rattled the island since Sunday, National Disaster Agency spokesman Sutopo Purwonugroho said. Evacuees at a shelter in northern Lombok's Tanjung district ran out onto the road crying and screaming, an AFP reporter at the scene said. Motorcycles parked on the streets toppled over and the walls of some nearby buildings collapsed. The aftershock comes after just 4 days after a devastating 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck Lombok, which relief agencies said had wiped out entire villages in the worst hit regions in the north and west. A total of 347 people were now confirmed dead in the quake. A woman wearing a motorbike helmet was seen crying with her 2 daughters in her arms. A strong earthquake hit Indonesia's Lombok Island on Thursday, causing buildings to collapse and sending already traumatized people rushing out of shelters. The magnitude 6.2 earthquake followed a 6.9 magnitude quake on Sunday that killed at least 131 people, damaged thousands of buildings, and left 156,000 people homeless. Indonesia's Geological Agency said the quake was shallow at a depth of 12 kilometers, centered in the northeast of the island. The U.S. Geological Survey measured the tremor at magnitude 5.9. It did not have the potential to cause a tsunami. It was the third big quake to hit Lombok in little more than a week. There were no immediate reports of deaths or injuries. Evacuees at a shelter in northern Lombok's Tanjung district ran out onto the road, crying and screaming. An AFP news agency reporter said a woman wearing a motorbike helmet was seen crying with her 2 daughters in her arms. Thousands of firefighters backed by U.S. troops and crews from as far away as Australia and New Zealand make progress in their battle with California's biggest wildfire on record. Nearly 20 major fires have ravaged the small and western state over the past 2 weeks, fanned by strong winds and sweltering temperatures. The wildfires have left at least 9 people dead, including 4 firefighters, and forced tens of thousands of residents to abandon their homes. The National Weather Service said conditions were expected to remain very hot and windy until at least Saturday evening. While no respite was expected from the weather, authorities said 14,000 firefighters battling the blazes have made progress against the giant Mendocino Complex fire in the state's north, made up of the River Fire and Ranch Fire. The Mendocino Complex fire has ravaged 300,000 acres, an area approximately the size of Los Angeles, and is California's largest wildfire since record-keeping began a century ago. California Fire said the river fire is 81% contained, having burned 48,920 acres. On Monday alone, 127 wildfires were burning on 1.6 million acres of land in 11 states, the National Interagency Fire Center said. The ranch fire has grown to 251,000 acres and is 46% contained. The Carr fire near the town of Redding has engulfed more than 173,000 acres since igniting July 23, killing 7 people so far, including 2 firefighters. Another major fire, Ferguson, has left 2 people dead and forced the closure of part of Yosemite National Park. It is currently 43% contained. In Southern California, near San Diego, hundreds of firefighters have been deployed to tackle the fast-moving Holy Fire. Firefighters in Spain and Portugal are still struggling to bring wildfires under control. Thousands of people have been driven from their homes as temperatures reach over 46 degrees Celsius in parts of both countries. Watch this. At least 20 people were killed Thursday in landslides triggered by heavy rains in southern India, an official said, pushing the nationwide monsoon death toll for this year to over 700. The monsoon, which lasts roughly from June to September, is heralded by millions of Indian farmers, but the relentless rain wreaks death and destruction every year. Last year, around 1,200 people perished. In the coastal state of Kerala, where more than 70 people have died so far this year, heavy rains hit the overnight of flash floods and landslides that destroyed scores of structures. A special congressional election in an Ohio district that solidly backed Donald Trump in 2016 remains too close to call. Even as Republican Troy Bodison, who was leading by 0.9% points or percentage points, or some 1,700 votes, declares a victory over Democrat Danny O'Connor, all signs point to the vulnerability for Republicans in the coming 3 months. Bodison is expected to take the House seat abandoned by Republican Representative Pat Tiberi, who announced his resignation in October midway through his term.
I'm going to promise to you that I'm going to work relentlessly for this 12th congressional district. I'd like to thank President Trump Mr. President, coming to town, I'd also like to take the time to thank Vice President Pence.
Democrats can view Tuesday's narrow margin as a promising sign ahead of the November midterms, as the 12th district has been a Republican stronghold for more than 30 years. It could signal another competitive contest between O'Connor and Balderson when they meet again in the November 6th general election.
We are in a tie ball game, and you made this possible. The grassroots individuals who've been knocking on doors, fighting for the future of our country. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for all of your support. You believed in us in a race that the pundits said we had no chance even being in. You proved them wrong.
The race carries immense implications. It's the final direct face-off between Republicans and Democrats before the November midterms, and Trump's party was holding its breath about a race that was turning out to be a referendum on the president. The Kremlin on Thursday slammed as unacceptable U.S. sanctions over Moscow's alleged involvement in a nerve agent attack in Britain, but said Russia still hopes for constructive relations with Washington. We consider categorically unacceptable the linking of new restrictions, which we as before consider illegal, to the case in Salisbury, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told journalists, referring to the nerve agent attack on former double agent Sergei Skripal. He added that Moscow retains hopes of building constructive relations with Washington. The U.S. State Department called them a response to the use of a Novichok nerve agent in an attempt to assassinate UK citizen Sergei Skripal, who was a double agent, and his daughter Yulia in March. The action is aimed at punishing President Vladimir Putin's government for having used chemical or biological weapons in violation of international law, State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said in a statement. The Skripal survived the attack, but a British couple was poisoned by the same Novichok agent in a nearby town, one of whom, 44-year-old Don Sturgis, subsequently died. Moscow has angrily rejected any involvement, plunging diplomatic relations with London into a crisis. The Russian economy is still reeling from the 2014 international sanctions imposed on Moscow over its actions in Ukraine and a crash in oil prices the same year. While Russia returned to growth in 2017 after 2 years of recession, it pales in comparison with growth figures seen during Putin's first 2 terms in office from 2000 to 2008, thanks to soaring oil prices. We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Health is a
Demonstrators clash with riot police after Argentine senators voting against legalizing abortion in the homeland of Pope Francis, dashing the hopes of women's rights groups after the bill was approved by the legislature's lower house in June. Fireworks and shouts of joy erupted among anti-abortion activists camped outside Congress, while pro-choice campaigners, many decked in the green scarves that had come to symbolize their movement, were downcast. Some burnt garbage and wooden pallets and threw stones at riot police, who attempted to disperse them with tear gas and water cannon. The bill had sought to legalize abortion during the first 14 weeks of pregnancy and would have seen Argentina join Uruguay and Cuba as the only countries in Latin America to fully decriminalize abortion. An attack on a bus carrying children in rebel-held northern Yemen on Thursday left dozens of people dead or wounded, the International Committee of the Red Cross said. The Houthi rebels, Al Masirah TV, reported that 39 people had been killed and 51 wounded, mostly children. It accused the Saudi-led coalition fighting the Shiite rebels on the side of the government of hitting the bus in an airstrike. The UN Children's Agency UNICEF said it was very concerned with the initial reports of children being killed. Yemen's war has left nearly 10,000 people dead since 2015 and unleashed what the United Nations describes as the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Israel carried out a major wave of strikes across the Gaza Strip overnight in the response to some 150 rockets fired at its territory, leaving 3 Palestinians, including a toddler, dead in another severe flare-up of violence, officials said. Most of the rockets fired by Palestinian militants landed in open areas, but at least 2 hit the Israeli town of Sderot near the Gaza Strip, and sirens sounded throughout the night, sending residents to bomb shelters. It was the 3rd severe flare-up of violence since July and came despite attempts by UN officials in Egypt to secure a long-term truce between Israel and Hamas. Israeli media reported that army officials had later acknowledged a mistake had been made and the militants had not been firing at soldiers, though the military would not confirm that information to AFP. Hamas warned Israel it would pay for the attack, and on Wednesday the army said shots had been fired at civilian engineers working on an underground barrier along the border, prompting the military to respond with tank fire at a Hamas post. An NGO ship which saved 87 migrants in distress off Libya docked in Spain on Thursday after roaming the Mediterranean for days, the 3rd such vessel to be allowed in the country in 2 months after Italy refused to take them in. The white ship, belonging to Spanish NGO Proactiva, Open Arms, arrived in the southern port of San Roque, just over the bay from Gibraltar, at 9:20 a.m. The migrants, nearly all from Sudan, including Darfur, had spent 50 hours at sea on board an inflatable boat without drinking water, and many suffered burns from a mixture of fuel and salt water before they were rescued on August 2. There were 75 men and 12 boys. The NGO says many of them were repeatedly abused in Libya. San Roque is where Spain hastily opened a new migrant reception center as hundreds of migrants make the perilous sea crossing to the southern coast of Andalusia every week. Faced with a crackdown by Libyan authorities and Italy's hardline approach to the arrival of migrants, Spain has now become the main destination for those trying to get to Europe from Africa. A rare set of teeth from a giant prehistoric megashark, twice the size of the great white, have been found on Australian beach at a keen-eyed amateur enthusiast.
Really important.
Philip Mullally was strolling along an area known as a fossil hotspot at Janjuk on the country's famous Great Ocean Road, some 100 kilometers from Melbourne, when he made the find.
I was walking down the beach here, looking for fossils, and turned around at a boulder and noticed this glint, shining glint, and saw this about a quarter of the tooth exposed, and was really excited. Jumped up on the boulder and was able to take out the tooth, and it was just perfect. It was really exciting.
He told museums Victoria and Eric Fitzgerald, senior curator of vertebrate paleontology, confirmed the 7-centimeter long teeth were from an extinct species of predator known as the great jagged narrow-toothed shark, or the shark which stalked Australia's oceans years ago, feasting on small whales and penguins, could grow more than 9 meters long, almost twice the length of today's great white shark. He explained that almost all fossils of sharks worldwide were just single teeth, and it was extremely rare to find multiple associated teeth from the same shark. This is because sharks who have the ability to regrow teeth lose up to a tooth a day, and cartilage, the material a shark's skeleton is made of, does not readily fossilize.
Turned around at a boulder and noticed this glint, shining glint, and saw this and it was just perfect.
More news will be coming your way when Eagle News International returns.
Health is our most
Welcome to the garden. A world that recaptures the value of life, creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia remains hopeful about achieving at least the low end of the 7 to 8% growth target or target range for the year, with the implementation of policies towards attracting more investments after the economy accelerated 6% in the second quarter. Pernia said the Philippines remained one of the best performing economies in Asia after Vietnam at 6.8% growth and China at 6.7% growth, even as the second quarter growth rate is less than what we had hoped for. Pernia pointed out that the immediate approval of the 11th regular foreign investment negative list should be prioritized to reduce foreign investment restrictions. Pernia said the Philippine economy would have to expand by at least 7.7% in the second semester to attain the low end of the 7.0 to 8.0% for 2018. The country's gross domestic product expanded by 6.3% in the first half of the year. It was pulled up by the 6.6% growth in January to March. Pernia is also hopeful that the timely implementation of the Build program bodes well with the construction industry and is seen to boost not only public construction but private builders as well. Pernia attributed the slower second quarter economic growth to policy decisions undertaken that are expected to promote sustainable and resilient development.
Ano nangyari sa ekonomiya? Yes. It's okay. It's doing well. It's doing well. And we are also implementing good policies.
Again, hindi decline Slow down. Hindi decline kasi tumaas. Tumaas pa rin tayo. No? So, isa yun sa, sa major na message natin. Tumaas tayo. Tumaas pa siya by 6%. 6.6, meaning a high level last year. Tumaas.
IKEA's first Indian outlet opened on Thursday with more than 200 eager shoppers queuing to get in. The store in the southern city of Hyderabad is the first of 25 outlets the Swedish furniture giant hopes to open by 2025 across the country of 1.25 billion people.
When we came back from US, then only we got to know that, that IKEA is opening up here, and that was, of course, such a great news. And then we immediately decided that, as soon as it's going to open, we are going to be there, and we are going to buy definitely a lot of stuff in our house from IKEA, for sure.
The occasion was graced by a number of dignitaries, including Sweden's ambassador to India, Claes Molin, and K.T. Rama Rao, and IT minister of the local state of Telangana. IKEA, famous for its self-assembly products, faces a tough challenge in India, where people are not used to having to put together assembled furniture themselves, analysts say. IKEA has tweaked its offerings to suit Indian tastes, starting with the restaurant where its famous meatballs will be chicken or vegetarian instead of the unusual beef or pork. Alongside standard IKEA furniture like Billy bookshelves and Kleppen love seats, the chain will offer locally relevant products like masala boxes, Indian frying pans called tawas, rice cake makers, and mattress with a coconut fiber center. Last August 6th, the Philippines hosted the 2018 Taiwan Healthcare Industry Trade Meeting, brought to the country through the efforts of the Taiwan External Trade Development Council, or TAITRA. The conference carries the theme, Enjoy a Healthier Life with Taiwan Medical Services, and gathered major players of the medical industry in both Taiwan and the Philippines, including hospitals, medical practitioners, healthcare companies, and their representatives. During the event, Taiwanese companies took to the stage to share their experience and research on the topics of Taiwan healthcare and medical services, as well as medical technologies related to cancer treatment and genetic testing. Once the fora had concluded, the floor was open for medical consultations among attendants. Examinations were carried out by Taiwanese doctors and experts specializing in ophthalmology, urology, hair restoration, cardiovascular medicine, and otolaryngology and precision medicine.
This is a part of our new southbound policy. That include, of course, I'm from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, so economic, trade, and also the cultural, and also education. The medical services is a part of it. If you need any further information, you can contact my office. Actually, the medical service is another division in charge, but I can help you to get all the information. Of course, the Philippines is our main target of this policy.
In response to the Taiwanese government's new southbound policy, TAITRA is also promoting a medical and health service exchange program with other members of the ASEAN nations. Through the program, TAITRA will lead a trade mission to the Philippines, aiming to establish a platform of cooperation that will address issues on bilateral pharmaceutical certifications, as well as new drug and medical equipment development, establishing medical referral platforms to assist patients from Southeast Asia who will come to Taiwan for medical treatment. In the recent years, Taiwan has ranked third worldwide, only behind US and Germany, with 14 Taiwanese hospitals featuring in the list of the world's best facilities. Taiwan's medical institutions also boast of some of the world's best medical professionals, while its facilities are home to cutting-edge advanced medical equipment. Africa is experiencing a massive trend of increased use of skin bleaching, particularly in teenagers and young adults, says Lester Davids, a psychology or physiology professor at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. Experts say the African market is rapidly expanding as companies seek to cash in on the continent's booming youth population.
It's a daily ritual. For 7 years, Toyin has been using a skin bleaching cream. She says it gives her a clear complexion and protects her from the sun. But over time, her skin has become irritated and dark spots have appeared.
This particular cream is okay because if you use other creams, you might get sunburnt. Since I started using this cream, people have been complimenting me. My skin isn't too dark or too light. I keep my natural complexion.
In Africa, the business of skin bleaching is booming despite a growing Black Pride movement championing natural beauty. Women and men buy creams that lighten the skin by reducing the production of melanin. The price of a jar of cream ranges from 2 to 50 euros and can be found everywhere on the continent.
From the poorest to the middle class and to the rich class. They all, a good number of them bleach. In my last research, I found out that when you go to the marketplaces, 6 out of 10 bleach.
Many countries have banned the creams, some of which contain harmful ingredients, including hydroquinone, steroids, lead and mercury. But high demands has led to a booming black market that is almost impossible to regulate. The side effects can lead to skin cancer.
You start to affect not only the upper layers of the skin, but you also affect the deeper layers of the skin to such an extent that at a particular point the whole process becomes reversed. You get much darker areas of the skin, and eventually the skin is destroyed to such an extent that only laser surgery or resurfacing surgery.
The latest trend in skin whitening is by injecting or taking pills that contain glutathione. This antioxidant, used to treat cancer, lightens the skin and is said to be a safer alternative than the creams. It is not illegal, but the long-term effects are still unknown, meaning skin bleaching remains a risky business.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Health is our most important.
nararanasan ng bansa. Kapag may banta ng panganib, kailangang maging alerto at kung kailangang lumikas ay magtungo sa ligtas na lugar. Bilang paghahanda sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, mahalaga na may gobag na dadalhin ang pamilya. Narito ang dapat na nilalaman ng gobag ng isang pamilyang handa. Mahalagang dokumento sa selyadong lalagyan, flashlight, kandila, posporo at silbato, radyo na may bago at ekstrang baterya, first aid kit kasama ang panlunas sa lagnat, LBM, sugat at iba pa. Ang mga gamot na regular na iniinom ng pamilya. Magagamit para sa mga sanggol, bata, matatanda at may kapansanan, pera at mga barya. Pagkain na madaling ihanda, di na kailangang lutuin at sapat para sa 3 araw. Inuming tubig sa saradong lalagyan at sapat para sa 3 araw. Telepono, power bank at charger. Lubid, lumang dyaryo, matitibay na lalagyan. Damit, kapote, bota at mga sanitary supplies. Sleeping bag o banig at mga kumot. Suriin ang mga laman ng gobag kada 3 buwan at palitan ang mga laman nito na malapit nang masira. Ilagay ang gobag sa lugar na madali itong makita at makuha sa oras ng sakuna.
In Philippine basketball, Justin Brownlee and the never quit, never say die Scottie Thompson helped the Gin Kings put away an emphatic 93-77 win over the San Miguel to wrest the PBA Commissioner's Cup Championship. Brownlee and Thompson presided over a 21-4 finish to the third quarter to help Ginebra turn around a 38-35 halftime deficit and pull away for good to the delight of 20,490 roaring fans at the Mall of Asia Arena. The 4-2 win in the best-of-7 series gave Ginebra its first Commissioner's Cup title since 1997 and its second league title over the last 3 conferences. It was also 21st championship in the career of Coach Tim Cohn and the 11th overall for Ginebra. The resident import of the Kings in the Governor's Cup, the 6'4" Brownlee stood above everyone else in the mid-season conference, capping off his impressive campaign with 31 points and 19 rebounds in the title-clinching victory. The 6'1" Thompson, meanwhile, made 13 rebounds to go along with his 12 points. He was later named the Finals MVP. Ginebra went on to lead by as many as 22 points, turning the rest of the game into a celebration for its multitude of fans. Ginebra slotman Greg Slaughter held his own against four-time league MVP Junmar Fajardo, finishing with 13 points and 9 rebounds in Game 6. LA Tenorio had 11 points and shot 3 of 8 from three-point area, while Jeff Chan had 10 points as he won his first ever PBA title in a Kings uniform following a mid-conference trade. Fajardo had 29 points and 15 rebounds, but was in foul trouble in Game 6. Ronaldo Balkman had 24 points and 14 rebounds. Meanwhile, Ginebra coach Tim Cohn, the sky is the limit for the PBA Commissioner's Cup Finals MVP Scotty Thompson, according to him. Thompson led Ginebra in the final 2 wins of the series, finishing with 12 points and 13 rebounds in the Kings title-clinching 93-77 win over the San Miguel in Game 6 before more than 20,000 fans at the Mall of Asia Arena. Cohn said Thompson has been playing big for Ginebra since the former Perpetual helped standout first set foot in the Kings practice.
He came up big. I mean, I think from day one he joined our practice. I'm running out of superlatives to describe him.
Cohn said Thompson, with his rebounding prowess, showed in the final series that he is embodiment of the never say die mantra of the Kings over the years.
His will to win and his will to do whatever it takes. Again, he's off the charts. I don't know anybody like him. Yeah, everybody brings a kind of a different approach to the game. You know, everybody brings something, and Scotty brings us that intangible of just never quit, never give up, and he really, if anybody, exemplifies that never say die attitude. I mean, his energy is always there. I mean, you don't get to see him in practice, but he's like that in practice too. The stuff he does in games, he does in practice all the time.
Following the Commissioner's Cup performance, Cohn said he sees greatness in Thompson.
I don't know, I could talk about him for hours, but he's a real special kid. And I just think that he's, again, just scratching the surface of how good he's going to eventually be. He might go down as one of the true greats in the PBA.
In tennis, reigning Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic says he is in favor of a bid to turn the Davis Cup tournament into a season-ending Grand Slam level showdown, as it would ease scheduling rules for the players. Currently, the Davis Cup is structured around a 16-national world group contested over 4 weekends during the year. The remaining countries are then divided into 3 regional zones. The International Tennis Federation controversial revamp would see the Davis Cup morph into a World Cup of Tennis final featuring 18 countries and address complaints that the heavy time commitment drives away the top players. Djokovic, a Davis Cup champion for Serbia in 2010, gave his thumbs up. The ITF has said the revamp would bring benefits across the tennis world in the form of increased prize money and more top players taking part. It would also raise the hosting standards of the Davis Cup to a Grand Slam level, ITF chief David Haggerty told the media. Madrid and Lille are the 2 leading cities to host the first edition of the revamped Davis Cup in November 2019, Haggerty said. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez and I'm 1 with 25.
In a tiny basement bookstore in Hong Kong, around 40 stray cats walk freely across stacks of titles or among browsing customers. Bookstore owner and cat lover Caroline Chan has been taking care of stray cats since 1978 when she started out as a junior clerk at the shop. International Cat Day, a worldwide celebration created in 2002 by the International Fund for Animal Welfare, falls on August 8.
希望人哋嚟就係嚟睇書嘅，或者嚟揾一本書嘅，就唔好嚟玩貓。佢同埋佢又有佢嘅生活，話唔係佢咁啱喺度靜思 思考緊貓生，你又唔知噶嘛，又騷擾咗佢，咁人哋好地地喺度。我成日覺得貓係一個哲學家，你永遠搞唔通佢喺度諗緊啲乜嘢嘅。講始終幫啲貓咧揾到個人家咧，先至係最重要嘅。因為喺我度咧係真係一個中途站，或者係有啲朋友笑我話一個高級嘅難民營嚇。咁但係咧，我覺得幫佢哋揾到個人家，嗰個先真正嘅幸福咯。
The celebration for the 50 years in the West continues in Sacramento, California, as Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, the Executive Minister of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, leads the members of the church in a worship service. The families expressed their gratefulness. Watch this.
Commemorating 50 years in the West, the Iglesia Ni Cristo is celebrating their golden anniversary in the Golden State.
What does the success of the Iglesia Ni Cristo mean to its members?
It means a lot. We are really happy to be here, to be part of this big celebration of our big anniversary, and it's really nice and also to see Brother Eduardo V. Manalo to lead our big anniversary for today.
Mahalaga sa amin ang selebrasyong ito na maka-attend dahil isa itong biyaya para sa amin at sa kabuuan ng iglesia. Of course, binibigyan natin ng kahalagahan ng lahat ng mga kapurihan ng Panginoong Diyos. So, para sa amin, isa itong biyaya, napakalaking biyaya para sa ating lahat na mga Iglesia ni Cristo.
It's grateful to to be here celebrating with the other members, and of course we're happy and glad, and we are proud to be a member of the Church of Christ.
The importance of the celebration will strengthen the faith of all the members of the church. The success of the church would mean that the work of God's salvation in these last days is a success.
It's very, very important in our life, because this is where the expansion of the Iglesia Ni Cristo throughout the world is very, very memorable event. It means a lot in my family, very, very well. Especially for my children and all my grandchildren.
The success of the church gave us more spiritual strength and inspiration to serve God, especially this time that the executive minister of the church had led us in this very spiritual worship service.
We are celebrating the 104th anniversary of the church and 50th in the West. Happy anniversary to all our brethren all over the world.
It should be noted that the Iglesia Ni Cristo has reached its 104th anniversary worldwide.
So no matter what part of the world, the Iglesia Ni Cristo members are always in full celebration mode. Reporting from Golden One Center in Sacramento, California for Eagle News, my name is Ariana Andrade.
And my name is Seth Paras.
And we are 1 with 25.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us. And I'm 1 with 25.